friends, welcome back to SLR Studies. I am Liladar. Today we are going to discuss about the last section in our chapter, the Indian rivers and the water resources. The last topic is in conclusion. As a heading, in conclusion, we have discussed about in the first section. We have discussed about the water resources and the physiographic divisions of river systems in our Indian country, and in the following sessions we have discussed about the Tungabhadra river basin and also the Hiware Bazar village situation, and also these two are very good examples of the water usage in a feasible manner. And also by using of the by understanding of the inflows and the outflows of the areas, we can estimate the correct usage in a feasible manner of a water usage in every area. The Hiware Bazar village is a good example. It has inspired many other villages like it. So the Hiware Bazar village is one of the best village which has used the water in a proper way, and also the people have interacted in such a way that because of the people's initiative also the Hiware Bazar village can do this success. And also in conclusion, we have to use the water in a feasible manner. We should not waste the water, and also we should try to conserve the water and also the soil, because the water is a natural resource it is a renewable resource, so we should not waste the water. And once again we are going to recap all the topics, topic wise topic. We are going to recap all the topics, and starting with the first topic, that is the river systems in our India. There are three main river systems in our India, that is the Himalayan river systems and the Peninsular river system, and also the Indo-Gangetic plain river system. In the Himalayan river system, here it comes three main rivers, that is the Indus river. The Indus river has originated in the Kailas ranges in the Himalayas. It start flowing from the Kailas ranges towards the Pakistan and into the India. The most of the major part of the Indus river stays in the Pakistan, and the rest of some amount will be in the Indian country. And like this, the Indus river is one of the river which is showing its kindness in the water bulk, which is having its a major part in the bulk of annual rainfall of our country. And the Indus river also helps in making the 70% of the water, and also not 70%, 30% of the water. And also next river, here comes the Ganga river. The Ganga river is originated in the Gangotri peak, and also there are two main tributaries of the Ganga river, that is in the Gangotri peak and also the Satopant ranges. And in the Satopant ranges, the Ganga river has originated in near the Gangotri peak. The Ganga river is called as Alaknanda, and near the Satopant peak it is called as Alaknanda, and in the Gangotri peak it is called as Bhagirathi. Both Bhagirathi and Alaknanda meet at a point at a hill station, and then start flowing towards our Indian country. And like this, the Ganga river has originated from its place in the Himalayas. As we discussed, the next river, here comes the Brahmaputra river. The Brahmaputra river is also originated in the Kailas ranges. In the Kailas ranges, the Brahmaputra river is originated in the Chamyongdang glacier in Tibet. In Tibet, it is also called as the Sangpo river. The Sangpo river in Tibet, and also it has different names in different places. And like this, as we discussed, the three main rivers of Himalayan rivers has originated side by side with some few kilometers gap in the Kailas ranges. Now here next we are going to discuss about the peninsular rivers. The peninsular rivers, name only means the peninsular rivers means the rivers which are originated in the peninsular plateau of our Indian country. The peninsular plateau consists of many rivers such as Narmada, Godavari, Tapti, Krishna, Kaveri, etc. In all these rivers, the main river is the Godavari river system. It is the longest river system, and it is originated in the Nasik Trayambakam plateau in the Nasik region of Maharashtra. And like this, all the Godavari river system is the longest river system, as we discussed in the previous sections. And also here the Peninsular rivers, all the rivers flow from west to east. Instead of two rivers, they are Narmada and Tapti. They flow from east to westwards. All the rivers flow from west to east because, as we discussed in the previous chapter, the left side Western Ghats are higher than the Eastern Ghats. So there is a slope which is formed in the Peninsular Plateau from west to east slopes. And also in the this is about the Himalaya, the river systems. And next we are going to discuss about the water use. In water use, the whole water use of an area is denoted by the inflow. The inflow of an area is equal to surface flow plus groundwater flow plus. The inflow of an area is mainly included by the surface flow and the groundwater flow and the other flows. There is a formula for inflow, that is inflow is equal to precipitation plus surface flow plus groundwater. Now first starting with the surface flows, there are many surface flows such as streams, channels, etc., rivers, lakes, seas, oceans, etc. Here we have to discuss about one term, watershed. Watershed means watershed is an area, is a catchment area which drains to the common outlet is called as a watershed. And next, the watersheds are mainly helpful for storing of water and also not only storing of water, draining all the streams into one channel is very helpful by the watershed. And also next we have to discuss about and also like this, in the outflows, the watershed is very helpful for all these streams, channels, rivers, etc. Next, the outflows, there is evapotranspiration also included in the outflow. The water which is evaporated, the water will absorb the heat from the surroundings and evaporate into atmosphere. It is called as an evaporation. And the living things also excrete water by the process of breathing. And the amount of water and this process is called as a transpiration. The amount of water excreted into the atmosphere by both evaporation and transpiration together called as evapotranspiration, evapotranspiration. Okay, and the next one. And like this, the evapotranspiration is also included in the surface flows. And the precipitation includes the hailstorms, rainfalls, hailfalls, etc. All this contains the precipitation. And the groundwater flow, it is difficult to estimate the groundwater flow because the groundwater flow will be flowed inside the ground level, so it is difficult, but it can be achieved by one who can guess the level of groundwater and the ground availability. And the next topic is about the Tungabhadra river basin. The Tungabhadra river basin, the Tungabhadra river is one of the tributary of the river Krishna. The Tungabhadra river is shared by both states of Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh. There is about 1,417 km square of catchment area, in which the 57,641 km square is occupied by the Karnataka, and only left of the area is occupied by the Andhra Pradesh. There are three parts in the there are two divisions in the Tungabhadra river basin. One is the upper and the middle portions. These were controlled by the Karnataka government, and the lower portion is included in the Andhra Pradesh. And like this, the Tungabhadra river basin is very largest river basin. It is the only river. It is the only river which can gives water to all the areas near it. And like this, the Tungabhadra river is a famous river, as we know, and it is a very important river, and it is also an important tributary of river Krishna. We know river Krishna, it is a very fertile river. It is very helpful for the making of fertile lands. And also the Tungabhadra river basin is lost its capacity because of the activities of humans. The people who lived near the areas have they converted land from the water storage into the cultivable lands. And like this, so much of land was wasted by the people, And because of all these activities, the Tungabhadra river basin has lost its capacity up to 849 million cubic meters. It is very large amount. In before the Tungabhadra river basin has 3,766 million cubic meters, but now it lost 800 million cubic meters because of the activities of humans. And like this, the Tungabhadra river basin has completed. Next, we are going to discuss about the rational use of water and rational use and equitable use as an example. And here we are going to discuss about an example in the village of Hiware Bazar. The Hiware Bazar village is located in the rain shadow region of Sahyadri hill station in Ahmednagar district of Maharashtra. And the Hiware Bazar village, the people have granted, people are one of the reason for the success of the Hiware Bazar village. The people have very much helped the government, and very much the government has used some bandis. Not the bandis are nothing but bans. The government uses some bandis to control the water use in Hiware Bazar village. They are the Purhad bandi. It is a ban on felling trees, and Charai bandi. It is a ban on free grazing. And next one is Nasbandi. It is a ban on family planning, and the next one is a Nashabandi. It is the ban on liquor. And like this, these four bandis also help the Hiware Bazar village government to utilize the water and also to maintain the water availability. The Hiware Bazar village was selected under the Adarsh Gram Yojana, which was conducted in the Ahmednagar district of Maharashtra. And like this, the Hiware Bazar village has got many uses because of these bandis. Not only these bandis, one extra bandi is also there. It is a ban on borewells. And like this, the Hiware Bazar village has got out of water problems. And the last but not least topic, it is in conclusion, we have discussed in the starting of this video. So friends, please do subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching this video. In the next section, we are going to start the next chapter. And thank you friends.